Welcome to Louder Than Words. This is a brand new, awesome, off the chain podcast with Dr. MTW, aka Mr. Wilkins, and your host, MJ, Real Talk with Monique. You know me from the other podcast. Check it out though. Today we are going to get into why it's so important to know your history, know where you came from, because y'all know what the saying is. What is the saying? If you don't know your history, if you don't know where you came from, you're going to repeat the nonsense that happened in the past. So it's all about knowing who you are, what your heritage is all about, and how you can use your information to elevate yourself to the next level. Because look, our ancestors put in work. So why not us follow through with that, capitalize on that, and make this a better place? So having said that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. MTW. How you doing today?
I'm all right. How you doing, Mom?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing.
Hey,
I'm always about my faith, right? You know, my faith might be a little bit different from your faith, but the bottom line is we serve God, period, point blank. So I'm always about, look, God, I know I'm here for a reason, and I know I'm not here to struggle. So I'm always about getting out there, putting in that work, and claiming my money. How about you, baby?
oh yeah, for sure. That's something I'm working on right now. Trying to get that savings right. Trying to learn everything I
Mm-hmm.
can about trust and life insurance, investing in myself and my children as I work and as I go to
Hey,
school. I'm doing the research right now. So once I get the game, I'm definitely gonna pass it on. But you definitely
that's
got to invest in
awesome.
yourself. That's the whole point. Saving. That's something my dad always told me. Like if he ain't tell me nothing else, he said you better save that money.
Well, your daddy told you right. And you know he already know what it is because he's definitely got himself set up pretty nice and was able to retire and all the things. And it's interesting too because people hear about your story. You did time, you was locked up and all that, and to hear you having this conversation about saving and what your dad instilled in you in terms of the economic side of things, people would kind of put you in a box, and be like, well, how could that be so? How did he get that knowledge? I thought all these young brothers, black men, didn't have daddies and they weren't pouring into their lives. And that's why they got into the streets and enjoying gangs, all the things, the stereotypes. So, what I'm loving about you and I having these conversations is you're going to break some of the myths. You're probably going to prove some things right, but you are going to bring your experience to this conversation and enlighten some folks. You ready to enlighten them?
Oh yeah. It's like you said about importance of knowing your history. That's kind of what got me on my path now. Just doing the research, doing history, because a lot of people we take it for granted, and don't and not too many people will tell you you should go look this up, or you should study where you came from, or you should study the history of your people, because we don't really know who our people are first of all. So that's the first start, searching
Mm-hmm.
right there, figuring out who your people are, and then a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
it don't lead to nice paths. It's usually dark paths. It makes you angry when you do this research, but at the same time, it's telling you a lot about what's going on, and just even
Mm-hmm.
researching history for me, it taught me how the importance of saving and how not to continue. That's one way of getting out of this cycle, this generational curse to me, is learning to invest in yourself and trying your hardest not to be mesmerized by the carrots dangling in front of you, basically, by the trinkets and like the material things. So I'm just, even being in prison, because that's part of my background, being in prison, being in the street, that's something that told me like the stuff that I was living for and trying to stack up in my life, it really wasn't worth it. It's like I could have used the knowledge, even some of the bad things I was doing in the streets. I could have used that to invest in myself. Honestly, it's like
Yeah.
when you just moving with no direction, you just it's kind of it's you blind, you blur, your vision is blurred by the material things.
That is so true. Man, first of all, just to hear you having this kind of a conversation about what you've learned through your life experience, right? although it wasn't the best, but you actually you made the best of it. And that's what I'm so proud of you for, because there's so many young men, because you went in at 15 years old as a youngster, and there's so many young men that unfortunately don't come out with insight, intellect that's been improved because of reading and taking advantage of those learning opportunities that you did. So for me, it was hard as a mom to not have you in the home, but I've always known, and I've always prayed, and you even made some comments about me, how I've been praying, believing God was going to get you out of there and all that. But at the end of the day, he didn't release you early. But you've told me a few times that there's so many reasons why you think he didn't, and because of what you've learned and what you had to go through in terms of just purpose in general. And purpose, we don't really understand overall. We just know, oh, I'm here for a purpose. Some people believe that, some people don't. But for those of us who do believe that we're here for a purpose, we look back to all of our trials and tribulations, and we try to put the puzzle pieces together to understand what is that purpose. And listening to you right now sounds like you're starting to put those puzzle pieces together. You want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. Many traumas, and I really believe that growth takes trauma. Like in order to reach true growth, you have to experience some form of trauma. And because most people that you see that rise from a situation, they went through something that strengthened them, and it can either, like I said, strengthen you or break you. And prison strengthened me, and I was kind of forced, like in a terrible situation at a young age. I was on the maximum security prisons where it's war zone at all time. It's a hostile environment. And some people, I believe this too, but I've heard people say is being in prison is the closest you could get to being enslaved. And even doing my research, I realized how true it is when I was studying the Constitution, and I came across the 13th Amendment, where it literally says that slavery is illegal except for if you become a criminal or a felon or ward of the state, basically. And then when I
Mm,
researched more, I realized like it's really no slavery was never outlawed. Really, it really was it's loopholes put around it. So like, realizing
wow.
that just kind of made me change my ways. It kind of made me think about what am I really doing out here in these streets? Like who am I really giving my energy to? I'm out here, you know, probably having little small riches in the streets. That's really nothing if you ain't got no property or no assets behind it. So you basically just you got pieces of paper, and you keeping up and you trying to you in competition with your surroundings, which is nothing. Nobody around us in the hood is really doing much. So it's like I start realizing like this is all distractions. I'm being blinded. That's what began me on my research. Like, I got to start figuring out what's really going on. And I start realizing it's a chess game being played in this world that we've been a part of since the beginning. So I'm just trying to find my
Wow.
place in it and bring awareness through my writing.
Well, you just said a mouthful, and I know that you have so much more to share and just really kick knowledge. You know what I mean? So you mentioned being at a place now where you're doing the research, you're realizing a whole lot, you're getting enlightened, and that is fueling more of your writing. You've always loved writing. You've been a writer all your life. You've just been a writer. You're a storyteller, you do research, so you kick knowledge, all of the things. But now you're at a place where you can actually start putting it to a manuscript form, or to a screenplay, or whatever it is that you want to do with it. How is that going for you? Like, do you know where to start, or are you just kind of pouring out? Like, talk about how you're going ahead with your writing.
Well, as of now, I'm just writing. I'm just letting it go. I always kind of knew a little bit about like writing a full novel and stuff, but it was always just the part after that. So I'm getting into the publishing. I'm researching all of that. But I've always wanted to tell stories about our struggle in a different way, just from like the eyes of the gang member or the street dude or even the oppressor. Just that's my way of trying to tell the story in modern times, basically show people like what's really going on and how we got to try to reshape our thinking. So right
Mm-hmm.
now I'm just working. I'm working on a little short. Well, it's not even a short anymore. I'm working on a story called "The Plantation Has Wi-Fi," and it's breaking down what's going on from my point of view, just
Mm-hmm.
being in the system of what I see our people or how our people keep this generational curse going. In my opinion,
Ooh, that's so powerful. And you know, what's crazy is that when you were in your teens and first locked up, and I had Golden Steps Youth and Families and, you know, doing all the things with the young people in the neighborhood, trying to just deter them from getting caught up, right? And allowing them to use their talents through the performing arts. There's a young lady that was a part of the group, so many, but this one particular young lady was very wise at an early age, and she was into, you know, photography and doing magazines and things. And I thought about you even then, and I was like, my God, he's got an opportunity to literally come out with literature that is thoughts from behind the concrete walls, you know, and just even how you survived being behind the bars and inside the concrete walls. It's just so much that you have to share. And I love that you are doing it. Like you said, you could do it from various perspectives. You're into character building. I've seen that. You can literally build characters, and you can take any point of view and have that character speak from that point of view. And I think that is so talented and amazing of your writing from what I've seen so far. So I know you're going to go far with it. So where does that come from? Your ability to just create these characters and literally talk from any character's point of view. What is that? Where'd you get that?
I really don't know. I believe it's a gift, but I've always been into reading since I was a kid. I've always been into literature, fiction stories, nonfiction. I always just it was always it ain't even movies though. It's just always just respected the art of being able to create a story. You create a whole world or in characters and a story and put a message to it. That to me, that's a superpower that I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted. And then, you know, you always that was one of the things you always instilled in me was the importance of reading. So you would have me reading October Sky and all these crazy books on trigonometry and war strategy and stuff. So that did a lot too. It kept the fire fuel. So that and then just my life always been, you know, it's been filled with trauma since a young age. That probably has something to do with it too. Just always I would always escape reality and be creating characters in my head, just painting a picture in front of me so I could block out the real world. And it carried on in prison. I just got drowned in I was be drowning myself in my books, writing and reading just to escape. And it worked for years. It still does.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I was actually going to ask you if you felt like being able to create these characters and these stories and create these worlds, if that helped you survive prison. But you just gave me something that is even deeper than that, that you were escaping before prison. You were able to, I won't say hide, but cover yourself in storytelling and creating and writing even before prison. You want to talk about that, or is that something we're not talking about today?
Yeah, we could touch on that another time.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. So you've always been gifted with the ability to write and to create. I mean, your mama's a writer. I got a couple of books published, but I'm telling you, what you have is beyond. Y'all, whoever's listening, it's not because I'm his mother. It's because I am a person, I actually life coach as well on the side, because I life coach in the area of just helping people find their talents and develop their talents and move forward in it. And I don't care if it's my son or if it's a neighbor or whoever it is. When I see people who have a gift and a talent, I just really want to help them pull that out and bring it to the forefront. And that's what I'm doing with my son. And I see this amazing talent and his abilities to, I mean, he can do anything from not just write the stories and the novels. I mean, he's lyrical, like he writes songs. I mean, he can put a whole movie script together given just the space and the time. And therefore I am definitely behind him 100% to see his vision come to life. And y'all, when you start getting these little excerpts of what he's doing, you're going to want more as well. So Keith, having said all of that, mom is going to be behind you, period. But it's not because you're just my son. You are truly talented. Have you heard that from other people? Like, what are other people saying from what they've seen of your writing?
Yeah. Honestly, since day one when I first started, one of my friends in prison was the one that got me writing. He was like, man, because I was writing poetry and writing music. He was like, man, the way you write that, you telling stories. Like, I bet you could write books. I'm just like, I started like studying other black authors and seeing how they write, but I didn't really like the way all the black authors wrote because they kind of left out some deep. It was like the urban stories just it wasn't catching me that much. It would just be like about street stuff, like stuff that I already lived through. It's not really taking me on a journey. So, but there was some really good black authors that I started reading up on, like Ralph Ellison. That's one of my favorite authors, the author of Invisible Man. I started researching other people that I was writing this, and I was like looking how they write it and telling the story from the hood. And I was like, man, I could do that. And then even the other people that I didn't like, really, I was like respecting they craft because I'm like they putting in the work and they books is selling. So I'm like, man, I could tell that like, this is a great way to tell my story. And it started off like maybe I could make some money from prison, but then as I wrote, I realized like, no, I love this. Like it's a like it made me, it gave me, I don't know, it's a feeling I felt I can't explain. It was like a high just writing, and I couldn't put the pen down.
Wow. That's when you're truly gifted. It's in you. It's a talent. It's a God given talent. And I've heard this said by so many people. If you're doing something that you truly enjoy and you could care less if you got paid for it or not, because you're going to do it anyway, that's your gift. That's just it. That is your gift. And you have to exercise, you have to utilize that gift. You have to put that gift on display. And I'm glad to see that you're moving forward in that. So what kind of if resources are you in need of to kind of help you get there besides time? We know everybody needs a resource of time, but is there ways that people that listen to this podcast can help you out? Do you need a mentor? Do you need some guidance? Do you need some resources? Like, what do you think you need to really get to
Probably,
the next level with your writing?
yeah, like you said, time is the main thing, honestly. Because right now I'm in a position where I would love to just be able to write, but yeah, it's probably time and a mentor. Honestly, that's something I always said I needed. I think
Mm-hmm.
everybody need a mentor or accountability partner for sure. I was just talking to my friend about that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that's most definitely a mentor though.
Mentors are great. Well, in the line of business that I'm in during the day, on my day job, y'all, we're always pushing for mentorships as we bring in newer hires into our company because that's how you grow. But even when I had the Youth Foundation and just the people that I know with other nonprofits, they are really big on ensuring that people who are either young, a little inexperienced, but they have a drive to be something greater, whatever that is, that they should have a mentor, someone that has been there, that has gone through that journey and can actually help someone else along. And even more than mentors, sometimes you need a champion. You need someone who's going to be a champion for you to like get some doors open for you. So anyone checking out this podcast and you hear the passion and you see where this young man is trying to go, drop in the comments mentorship programs in the area of writing, screenplays, movie, filmmaking, anything like that. So, he can interview y'all and check you out. Keys, I'm just again excited for where you're going with this. You mentioned also, as we were talking, that through your journey, you started kind of doing some research on your family history, not just Black history, but even your own family history. You want to talk a little bit about why it's important to know where you came from?
To me, it's important because just from my experience growing up, I definitely didn't care about my last name or my like where my grandparents came from. And I'm not gonna say that definitely that's why I was in the streets, but I feel like the pride I feel now researching, if I would have had that as a child growing up, I probably would have been reluctant to be on the block with the homies, like looking for a different identity. It's like when you see when yo because you hear the stories of Africans or black our ancestors fighting for freedom in the Reconstruction process and the constant battle and winning, losing, and just they constantly went through a reconstruction process, and then we keep ending up in this same place. So it's like when I see the history of our people, and then I look at how I was doing in the streets, it's like I'm doing the total opposite of what they was fighting for. But it's like people tell you that, but you don't really get an understanding until you do the research yourself. So me, I used to be one of them dudes that be like, oh man, I don't care about all that woke stuff. I don't care, man. That stuff, man. I'm looking at what's ahead of me. I don't care what's behind me. But then I keep on bumping my head, just trying to go forward, and then I realize everything you do is a blueprint. There's a blueprint to it. There's a history to it, and that's what your history is. It's the blueprint. So you can't get a job without a blueprint. They're gonna give you a blueprint, a manual, a blueprint, whatever, just to get structured into that position. It's the same thing with the history for me, because the more I learn, the more pride I get, the more strength I get. And I even see we got like I don't know the names yet, but it look like we got some writers or not or authors in our ancestry. So I'm like, it kind of makes sense of why you feel these certain passions today too, and give you a
Mm-hmm.
sense of pride. It make you want to do something for them people.
No, that is so good. And when you mentioned, it's in our blood. Before my your granddaddy Bobby, Nana's dad, I think it was right before he passed or somewhere around the time, his niece, his sister's daughter, came out with a poetry book that she released.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, we got a writer. Before that was just like, I want to say around 2010 or maybe 2012. It might have been a little bit later. But even before that, on your Nana's side, my mom's side, her uncle, which is her mother's brother, he released a poetry book. So, yeah, authorship, poets, all that, it's in the bloodline. And I don't know how much further back we can go. And I know we can go further back and find more writers in the family.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting all the as far back last names as we can. But I see like once you run into 1867, it kind of stopped because that's when slavery was like going through its getting abolished, and the names might have been getting changed, and a lot of times they wrote the names down wrong. So it's really hard, and it's kind of at 1867. Like once you get there, it get tricky. So I'm trying to figure out a way around that right now.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too because your uncle Donald, Uncle Lord, Grandpa Donald, my dad, he actually sent me information on his uncles and aunts, um, and just the whole history. And I don't know if it stopped at 1860 something, but I'll go back and check it because I think it does stop around that time too, where it's just hard to get the records.
Yeah, it
It's
has
just
their
hard to
birth
get.
dates. I believe after, like if they was born before then, it has their birth date, of course, but it's no information other than just the year they were born, from what I've seen,
Hmm.
unless they
Yeah.
were free. So I'm trying to see
Hmm.
because basically they wouldn't be put down as sad to say as human, but they would be put down as property.
Hey, you know what? I'm glad that you are digging into the history and really, like you said, you're gaining pride. Like it's bringing up the pride because of knowing. Look, we come from a rich background. Just first of all, just being black, number one. But not only that, our particular family just has a very rich background. I mean, there's so many stories I could tell you that, of course, we find out as people pass on about these stories, but the Indian that's in our bloodline from Granddaddy Bobby's side, the
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian that's in our bloodline, also from Granddaddy Bobby's mom's side. So his father was Indian, Choctaw. His mother is Nigerian descent. Her father's Nigerian. There's a lot. There's just so much, and it's really a shame, like you said, that when we're younger, you don't either we hear about it but we don't really get it. But maybe we need as a family to start talking about it more in a positive way, highlighting, the great things that people have done so that it kind of imprints in the young kid, in your kids, for example, because you got babies, something that will imprint in their heads. Because other than that, kids don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It has to
No,
be
that's true.
something that's like they can resonate with. But when you're little and you're hearing about all these things that these great people have done, it's kind of like, how does that impact me?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
don't
because
appreciate it, but maybe there's a way, maybe through your writing, through the storytelling, and I think that might just be it, where you paint the picture of these major influences in the family line, or not even just in our own family, but just in our history, that when your kids read these stories, they'll be like, dang, this is where I come from. That's where, you, like you said, pride. Maybe it's
mm-hmm.
time for us to start really developing that pride and kill off all the nonsense and the BS that's been handed down, right?
Mm-hmm.
You already know. You already know.
Yeah, I'm a question asker. I'll never accept any. I don't accept the middleman. I always got to go to or as close to the source as I could get,
Mm-hmm.
because I just understand after being in that system and dealing with the law, how scandalous and manipulative humans are. They even from the beginning, like all the stuff we taught to trust without a shadow of a doubt with these systems and all this,
Mm-hmm.
it's all it's all written with loopholes to certain people advantage, and you got to be able to recognize it so you don't get caught up in it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the people who don't recognize this and end up getting caught up in it are the very people that you got caught up with, the young people. And it's not just young people, but we're just going to stay on that right now because we're just keeping the scope, where it is. Because there's impacts to different people, different cultures, other races. People are impacted by so many different things in their life. But from what you've seen and your particular experiences, is that young Black men, right, who don't really know, and young ladies too, but again, I'm just focusing in on the young men right now. If you don't know the opportunities and the possibilities that you have just from being who you are, because we are a resilient people. We come from kings, we come from royalty, we come from fighters, we come from warriors, right? If you don't know that and you just accept the narrative that's put out there about your culture because someone else painted the picture of your culture, then you end up like a lot of these young, I'm gonna call them the YNs because that's my opinion. I don't know what anybody else say. They just hate on each other. They start hating on each other. And to me, it's like, man, if you only knew the potential, you wouldn't even be hating on your brother like that. I don't know. That's mama's opinion. What you say?
It's a long line of ignorance though. Like parents didn't know, they parents didn't know, and if they did, they didn't tell nobody. Like sometimes people get so broken where they just get to the point of acceptance. And you see that a lot in the hoods. Where even the elders in the family, they just be like, man, I'm just glad he alive. I'm just glad he's still here. They taking whatever they can. So and then a lot of them people was placed there. Like people got placed in Watch from New Orleans. All these people they was put here, and they with no vision, with no help, no programs to assist them. All the programs that the Black Panthers and all these other people tried to get together for the people, the COINTELPRO, FBI, they shut it down, and they took it, made it their own. They turned it into WIC and welfare and food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like every time somebody do try to reach out and give them a hand, they come up with something to shut it down. And after so long of you seeing your efforts get thwarted, you start to not believe yourself. Even the fighters start to not believe, and they
Mm-hmm.
start looking at the hood for how most people look at it. Like them is just a bunch of YNs. They just lost, but they not the only ones that's ignorant to these things too. It's just the other people that's ignorant. They not in these situations. They don't got to worry about that. They don't got to worry
Mm-hmm.
about finding something to take their mind off of the destruction in the hood because they don't see that every day.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting is that I've met non-blacks who grew up in Compton, and I would have never known. They work in the industry that I'm in, and they've experienced some of the stuff that we experience. And you probably can look back in time and you'll see a handful of non-blacks that grew up in those areas and were victimized as well by these systems, right? But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, it's more rampant with the black and brown communities, especially black, than it is with others. But the point that I'm trying to make is I don't think when it comes to economic disadvantages that it has a color to it. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I think that if you just fall into, unfortunately, you are in this group of folks that just can't seem to get ahead, you become victimized by these so-called, like you said, how they took over WIC, and all the programs supposed to help you, it turns into something else, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like it's turned into something to just keep you down, which goes into why I don't really support. I'm not even gonna get into the politics, but it's some folks that just love these particular political folks and say, oh, they love our people and they're always helping our people. And I keep saying they just keep our people down to me. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. See, I always, when I research, I try to follow the money because the numbers don't lie. And what I
Mm-hmm.
realized, well, in prison is that majority of the population is black and brown, but if you was to research the crime rate in America, majority of the drug crimes and murders is committed by non-Hispanic whites. So
Hmm.
the numbers don't add up once you get in prison. It's like it's you would think only blacks is committing crimes, but that's not true. We just getting the most time for it, or blacks and Mexicans for some reason we just getting the most time for it. And then when I realized how much money is being made off of prison, that's when I really opened my eyes. Like it's $1 trillion industry. Not only do the private prisons make money, but also food industry. Uh, it's a what else? The food industry, the insurance industry through the bill. It's a bunch of places that make so much money off of the backs of inmates.
Hmm.
So it's like when you realize like something like that is that much of a power source in America, it's like it kind of open your eyes to like why would they want to stop something like this, and why is it so prevalent in America?
Hmm.
It's like that's what made me start want to research the history and like want to get up out of that and
Hmm.
start building that sense of pride so I don't continue to feed the system.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. You don't want to continue to feed the system. When I started the Youth Foundation after you got locked up, and my whole goal was just to really bring awareness to the young people in the community that there is a system that is set up, and I called it a monster. And I said, and that monster wants to be fed, and it is looking for y'all. You want to walk around here claiming all this nonsense, trying to affiliate with gangs and the street life, but they're waiting for you. Like literally, they're just like they got a bed for you. They are waiting for you. If the grave don't eat you up first, that political, because it's, to me, it's a political monster as well. That's
Hmm.
how I feel about it. It's a political monster as well, and it's tied to the money. It's tied to capitalism, to all of those things, and it's designed literally to keep that 13th Amendment going strong, because now you get to feed that monster. You have these people in here, and now everybody's getting their money that's affiliated. And it's just another way. It's another way. It's just another way. And the awareness that our black and brown young people need to understand and be aware of is exactly what it's designed for, so that they can stop putting themselves in a situation to get caught up in that thing. Because like I used to tell the young people, once you get caught up in it, it's hard to get out of it. I talked about how I had put my house up for Hawk and put that $10,000 to get you a lawyer, where a lot of times these families don't even have money for a lawyer, but it didn't even work out anyway. It still didn't work out because it's all game. It's all game. It's hard to find someone that's truly, truly a lawyer, that's truly, truly in it to truly help someone. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these lawyers would just go ahead and make deals with the other lawyer.
For
We already know.
sure. That's something else we don't talk about enough is the family members of the inmates going broke, just trying to fight and get you out, bail you out, keep you alive in there with commissary and packages. It's a lot that goes to it. Everybody making money except for the community.
Right there. And so then it goes back to, so how do we, well, I know the answer is just like what you're doing, is bringing the awareness. It's putting the books out there, it's putting music out there, it's putting entertainment out there that actually addresses it. It has to be ways to get the message to the right people who need to hear it, because people like me and people who's, I would just say middle class America, we're making our money, right? We have our homes, we're doing all the things, right? We've come through the stuff. But there's this generation and there's this subculture of people that aren't getting through it. And now it's like, how do you talk to them? Right? Because their mindset, their perception, their perspective, everything is different from like my mindset. I mean, I get it because of what my kids been through. If y'all hadn't gone through what you've gone through, I probably wouldn't have got it. I don't know. But then too, I'll take that back because I grew up in the hood and I decided that I didn't want to be about that life. So that's why I pushed to do what I did. But not everybody's trying to push to get up out of it. There's a whole lot who are, but there's a whole lot who's not. So again, how do you talk to the ones that's just struggling to get out? I think it's going to be through entertainment, through the movies, through writing, through, I don't know, that's my opinion. What do you think?
I agree. I feel like we got to like the Panthers did. They created their own forms of propaganda. That's what the government did. All these people that ran the country, the conquerors, all the colonizers, they used propaganda to influence the people to put a narrative in the world that wasn't true. But we got to
Mm,
use that same method to put truth into the world. And
mm-hmm,
then you got to realize too, it's hard to counter this because it's already been instilled in all of us so much. Like, even the people that's fighting me, myself, I battle myself with my thoughts. Sometimes I gotta continue to remind myself to stay focused because it's too easy to fall back into the mind state that I was born into. It's too easy to just remain docile and not fight. But that's the thing. We as individuals who are conscious, who are passionate, we got to do our part, which is how you do it through the podcast. We can't go out there and be like, "Hey, you doing wrong. Hey, man, you got to do this way." Nobody gonna listen like that. You got to do it the way that they showed us how to do it through the media, music, like you said, through books. That's the only way, really. For
yeah.
me, it is. And then we still got the foot soldiers out there too that they out there every day talking to the youth. They just gotta remember to stay conscious and try not to straddle the fence.
Hmm. That's true. No, that's a good point, because if they're straddling the fence and you out here trying to give a good message and then you kind of doing some little twisted stuff, it's kind of like you just nullified the whole message.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm honestly very excited for what you have coming down the pipeline. I'm gonna do whatever I can to support you. And I am definitely excited about us doing these podcasts. I know we started out with Instagram Live talking about First Fridays, but we couldn't keep up with it. But doing this, I think, is a good way to start really getting the messages out and to prepare the audience for what's to come. Really got to start getting people ready and excited about what you're going to be putting out. And I'm excited about that. Anything else you want to say before we end this podcast tonight?
Just I'm very happy. I'm very happy that you set this up for us. I'm proud of you too, and thank you for this opportunity. And I look forward to doing more in the future.
Same, son. Man, y'all just don't know. I've seen his stuff. I'm excited. God bless you, baby.
God bless you.